I mean, our media is saying that if Iran is hit and fights back in any way, they're going to be nuked. It's a new form of warfare. We attack you first, and then if you defend yourself, we nuke you and cry on TV and scare our nation of ninnies. But look, the globalists know when they go in and stir up the Muslims that that's going to cause them to strike back. It's like going up and hitting a bee's nest. And then they get to take the American people's freedom. So it's problem, reaction, solution. The elite didn't get in power over being bozos. And on top of it, if these Muslims really are just attacking us because they're mad, don't they know that when they attack, that makes our military come and invade? Don't they know that brings in the wrath?
Well, yes, they do know. What's the reports going out now, however? That there's another report about Israel planning to do a, quote, surgical strike against the Iranian nuclear facility. That's
the other big part. You're right. They're kicking all this off for the police state, getting ready to go into Iran because they know there'll be real terror attacks in this country if Iran is hit. Go ahead.
I want to make this really clear. If anybody attacks Iran, the United States, or Israel, it's the beginning of World War III. These are the Persians, let anyone forget. There are 70 million of them, and they're armed to the teeth. They fought Iraq for 8 years. They didn't give up 1 inch of territory and lost over 1 million people. Anybody thinks that they're going to beat Iran, well, you know, they're part of the military-industrial complex. Maybe it's not beating them at all. Maybe it's just keep making money for a prolonged war. Because anybody in their right mind knows that they're not going to go down in any way. And this is also important. We keep hearing about, the great Israeli military. Israel lost to Lebanon. They could, like the United States, they could bomb any country into oblivion. But once you hit the ground, it's a different story. So with Iran, nobody's going to be successful attacking Iran internally. Yeah, they could bomb it to oblivion. It's, as I said, it's the beginning of World War III. There's no stopping it. So if Israel goes in, and again, there's those sabers being rattled now in the news. If that happens, we're going to be in for a hellish time in 2010 and probably for the rest of our lives.
Do you believe Israel's going to hit in 2010? I mean, they're openly making noises saying they may go ahead and strike.
I don't believe so, and I could be wrong. I only say that because they've been saying this for a number of years. And I don't know if they're trial balloons to see what kind of response they'll get back from Washington. Because the latest, it's the same story, every administration. For example, every administration tells Israel, no, you can't build any more housing developments on Palestinian land. You can't do it. Stop. It's against international law. And Israel does it anyway. And they're doing it again. There's just an announcement yesterday for 600 more apartment units. The administration says, no, stop. Israel says, do it. So Israel couldn't be testing the United States to see what their response is. But always remember that the more this country is involved militarily at any level, the less freedoms that we, the people, have. The worse the economy gets, and we wrote about this over and over again, when this bailout bubble bursts, when all else fails, they have no more financial tricks to deal on the table. The next card they play is war, and that's what we're concerned about. I've said it on your show. I've said it on CNBC. I say it everywhere. When all else fails, governments after governments take the people to war to get their minds off smaller problems.
All right, Gerald Celente, stay there. I want to get directly into your trends forecast for 2010 and beyond on the economy, on civil unrest, on the police state, on the health care bill, on so much more with Gerald Celente. I want to remind listeners, Gerald Celente, for more than 2 decades, has been devastatingly accurate on his trends and forecasts. We're honored to have him here with us today. And, of course, when he's up on screen with us, you can see the URL for his Trends Research Institute website. Gerald Celente, shifting gears now purely into the economy. And, of course, we know the stage terror and the new wars are about smoke screening that and getting us to rally around the New World Order flag. What else do you see economically coming up in 2010 into 2011?
Crash of 2010. The markets collapsed in March 9th, 2009. The only thing that's happened is the world governments, the central bankers, have flooded the world with money to keep propping up the failing banks and brokerage firms to the tune of about $6 trillion, roughly. But let's look at the real numbers and let's look what's really going on. Iceland, Greece, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Ukraine, Ireland, Spain, Portugal, U.S., UK, one after another, countries are going under, they're going bankrupt, and they're ready to fail.
And meanwhile, our mainstream media is telling us everything's wonderful, while the big brokerage firms are quietly telling their wealthy investors, hey, you better get ready for a possible total collapse. Now, when are you saying in 2010? Because you actually said 2009. When are you saying you're looking for another implosion?
No, what I meant to say is in 2009, the markets collapsed, but they propped them up. In 2010, there's not going to be any more props. The financial props are gone. So now, that's why we're looking for the collapse to happen. The commercial real estate market. Bye-bye Dubai. We saw it happen. Oh, it's okay. Nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong. That's what they tried to tell us. That's the canary in the commercial real estate mine shaft. We're going to start seeing more and more commercial failures, and they're going to dwarf the subprime problem. There's a story worth reading in today's New York Times. Actually, it's an op-ed piece from a previous story. It's about the Goldman Sachs gang. They always tell us the most brilliant minds. We need to pay a lot of money to get the most brilliant minds in finance. Yeah, the most brilliant minds so they could pull off the most brilliant criminal schemes possible. Here's what they've done. You can't make this stuff up, but they did. They call it a synthetic collateralized debt obligation. A synthetic collateralized debt obligation? What does that mean? Oh, what it means is you invest with us and you're going to be guaranteed to get great returns. So they sucker you in, the Goldman Sachs gang, for you to invest with them. And meanwhile, they're shorting the position, knowing that it's going to fail. It's in black and white.
And again, you and many of other great guests we had said this a year ago. Now it's come out in the 5-part series, McClatchy newspapers, that Goldman Sachs engineered this whole thing to destroy their competition. Internally, they were betting against housing while telling all their sucker customers to invest in it.
That's right. It would be like you taking out an insurance policy with me, giving me the money, and then me killing you and then collecting on the policy. That's what they're doing. That's what these great minds that we have to pay all this money to bail them out and to keep them like we're doing with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac on Christmas Eve.
And of course, it's not really just a bailout. They made money on the way up. This is just their profit on the way down. Go ahead.
Well, the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac that they did on Christmas Eve. Now the government has guaranteed them unlimited funds to keep the housing scam going. 9 out of 10 mortgages are backed by the government. And what did they do? They gave the CEOs of these companies, what, a $6 million salary? I mean, come on. But they do it on Christmas Eve when nobody's watching. So what we're looking for in 2010 is the collapse. And by the way, when we're looking at the collapse of 2010, we're also looking at the possible breakup of the European Monetary Union. So, for example, I spoke about Greece and Portugal and Ireland and Spain. Greece, for example, their budget deficit is 13% greater than their GDP. Under the Economic Monetary Union regulations, it can't exceed 3%. We're going to see one country after another unable to meet that fake number.
Which is what the EU was meant to do. Stay there, Gerald Celente. We'll be right back. And again, I got to hand it to Gerald. I remember him saying about 6 months ago, look at Europe perhaps breaking up. It's going to be so bad. And our government's going to have peaceful revolution. And, it's over for them. And then, by 2012. And then I started seeing mainstream news articles. I saw one last week saying Greece and others may go under, may bring down the European Union. My issue is the European Union wants them deep in debt, wants them under those controls. So I think they'll just refinance the deals with them. But continuing, Gerald Celente, with what you see happening on the economy, then domestically here.
As the economy goes down, we're going to start seeing, of course, nothing goes straight down or up or down. But we're still very bullish on gold prices. We believe gold 2000. What's happened is that as Greece and Eastern Europe has been going under, and of course, Sweden, Austria, the rest have been financing it. What they're doing is people are bailing out of the euro and then going into the dollar.